after.
Midnight.
There we go. That was a good
That wasn't
clap.
a good one either, man.
Well, it doesn't matter. At this point, I think we know how to clap.
Well, let's leave it at that.
Yeah. I think so.
We'll leave the clapping conversation at the door right there. Everybody's going to get so mad. They're going to be like, dude, why do they always fucking talk about clapping in the beginning?
Well, if they don't know the answer to that, and I can't help them really.
That's true.
I feel like in this day and age, that sort of a thing should be so self-explanatory.
I don't know what you think that sounded like, but you drinking out of that can that close to the mic sounded so gross, dude. It was so sloppy. Very sloppy.
It's like
drinker.
a McDonald's commercial. You know how they always do that? They're always like, "Oh, try our crisp Sprite," and you're like, "Yeah, it's a Sprite." Okay.
It's more than a Sprite, dude.
I know, because it's
McDonald's
McDonald's
Sprite.
Sprite.
Yeah, McDonald's Sprite really does be hitting.
Which I get, but at the same time, there's never going to be a moment that I don't prefer a Baja Blast in that moment.
Well, sure, but that's Taco Bell.
Yeah, but like, that was gross too.
Yeah, dude.
was a bad
Did
one.
you hear that time? You
Yeah.
paying attention?
I did.
The craziest one I saw was that meme that was like, it was like, every bitch thinks they're freaky until I get them in bed and put a little bit of McDonald's Sprite on their clit. and then the next tweet was the next morning, and he
Sounds
was like,
stupid.
"Sorry, I was fighting demons last night." Yeah,
Demons is a way of putting that.
it was a way of putting it.
I think she is probably having a harder time fighting off an infection.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely throws the pH balance off. I have to assume.
I would assume.
Man, speaking of demons, not so much demons. Have you watched any of The Last of Us yet?
No, I played some of the games.
Did you?
Games.
So you have a little bit of an idea.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
do you understand like what's causing the breakout and everything?
Yeah, isn't it like a fungal infection type thing?
Yeah. So it's a fungus, which is a real thing. Like
Oh,
that,
yeah.
you know, I
Like
mean,
the-
you've seen nature
The
documentaries.
zombie ant. Fungus.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting too, because it seems like every time in nature where there's like a parasite like that, it infects the host to a point where they ultimately kill themselves, like the host.
Yeah, which it does essentially, because I guess like if the ant gets damaged, it repairs itself with fungus, and so like at a certain
Right.
point it just can't, like the ant itself can't survive that.
Right.
But definitely the most realistic approach of a zombie apocalypse I've ever seen, because they're not really zombies.
that
They're
way.
yeah, I mean they're really just it already happens in nature. It's just what if it could happen to humans?
Well, and even more so than that, what I find myself thinking about when I've seen this stuff come out, because it's everywhere right now. Everyone is talking about the possibility of like fungal zombies because of the last of the show.
Yeah.
And from what I keep seeing and what I keep thinking, what my mind goes to every time is Paul's statements and the fungi documentaries that have been out that just basically explain that, you know, all life stems from fungus. Like, they've basically disproven fundamental evolution the way that the Darwinian sense would have you believe, like ape to man. Like, there's much better science showing that we come from fungus.
Are you when you okay? I don't know. Like, are you saying disproven? Like, you're saying that's 100% in your mind
Christian,
not a possibility, or are you saying there's just
So-
better possibilities out there? Because those are two different things. I mean, are
Yeah.
you saying that the Darwinism is 100%
So
no way?
Well, okay. So let me clarify my statement with two things. First, I'm a Christian, and we've talked
know
about that quite a bit. So I would say that, you know, if anything, there are
we came from dirt.
Well, I think that could be one and the same with fungus, in that the mycelium floor always stems from dirt.
Interpretation.
The other thing, though, is that all of the Bible is interpretation, and if you look at those stories, and if you listen to the people that actually deciphered the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is the most recent discovery of an old biblical text, the guy who deciphered it said that he believed that Christianity, in fact, was not a religion as much as it was a analogy for an early mushroom cult that believed that psilocybin mushrooms were in fact the reincarnated God that everyone believed in, and instead of there being like an actual Jesus figure, it's thought by that guy that psilocybin mushrooms are basically Jesus is like a code for mushrooms. And that was his interpretation of deciphering the Bible from the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to go that far, but what I am saying is that as far as like current science goes, and I know that it's kind of fringe still, but if you listen to the people who are the closest still to the mushroom subject and have kind of come down the line from people like Ram Dass or Timothy Leary, these people who literally studied with them, who were
right.
like, you know, the godfathers of psilocybin mushrooms,
right?
Namely Paul's statements, they all believe that the entirety of life on Earth comes from fungus, because it seems to be that is not only the most sustainable life, it's the largest living organism that's still on this planet, and it seems to be that nothing can grow or happen in the universe without the existence of fungus. So the way that they sort of use it to disprove or prove is the old thought experiment of like, do we have consciousness without a brain? And we've never seen consciousness without some sort of brain activity. So the idea is, take that over to mushrooms, we've never seen life without fungal life first. So it appears as though it really is sort of the starting point of all life, regardless of if it's human, animal, plant, whatnot. And again, like I said, I'm a Christian, so what I believe is that if any of that is even remotely true, it was created to work that way.
Right.
And comes from an intelligent design that knew that that's what would happen.
Man, I have just read so many different theories about so many different possibilities of things. And at this point, I'm just like, man, anything could be possible. I am an animal on a rock hurtling through space. Like, I don't know shit.
And you know what? I think at the base of everything, that's kind of what we're supposed to understand as human beings.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so careful when it comes to religion and whatnot. Because, I mean, like you said, we've brought it up, on this podcast semi-briefly. I mean, we probably talked about it for like 30 minutes or so. Yeah. But, I'm very cautious about all that. I'm not the guy. I don't believe in it personally, but I am not the guy that's going to be like, oh, that's not real. Because what the fuck do I know? What do I know, man? I am the same being that you are. Yeah. I am just a random animal. Man, my luck, I could die right now, and then boom, I'm presented in front of the pearly gates, and I'm just like, oh shit. And it likely wouldn't be Jesus to come out, but if it was, I would just be like, man, I was playing, right? Like, well, like, I was just joking.
At the same time, too, it's really left a mystery as far as like if Jesus would even still be a thing at the moment. Like
in heaven?
Right.
Well, because he's God. Right. Like, it's God, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They're all the same person.
Right.
It's all the same.
All the same.
And was it you that no, it was a guy I used to work with who's real big into the religion. And I asked him this question. I was, if I said, so Jesus is God, right? Like that is essentially God's playable character. Like he's up in heaven kind of playing Jesus.
Yeah. If you subscribe to that version of the monotheistic story. Now, of course, a lot of people would just say that the Jewish faith and Islam would say that Jesus was a real person, but he was just a prophet and not the Son of God.
Okay.
So when you bring that into play, then you have to start to go, okay, well,
a prophet that could perform miracles like that?
Yeah, because Muhammad did as well. But that's sort of the whole, that's really the debate when it comes to old world religions and specifically Christianity.
Yeah, because what I asked him, I was like, I just feel like it's it's a little strange if, God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit are the same person. If Jesus is nailed to the cross and he's screaming for God while he's on the cross, he's just screaming for himself. Like, that doesn't make much sense to me that they would write that in. You know what I mean? Like, he's on the cross screaming, please forgive them. Like, they know not what they do. But it's like, dude, you're just talking to you, aren't you?
Okay, this is the way that...
Like, that's his avatar.
In a sense. This is the way it's always been described to me.
Okay.
In the Old Testament, they prophesied about a Messiah figure, a Christ figure. In Islam, it's Muhammad. In the Jewish versions of the religion, they just simply don't believe that Jesus, in the way that they prophesied about as a Messiah, that he's just not come yet, that he is in fact the Son of God, but that it didn't happen the way the New Testament says. They think that it's more parable or analogy than it is actual real life occurrences, which I think is a little hard to get if you read the Bible, which is why the Jewish faith focuses on the Torah, the first 4 books of the Bible, so much.
Right.
Because they're really more so interested in the creation story and then the esoteric values that kind of come into play after that. But as far as like Catholicism and Christianity goes, which are the religions that would claim Jesus to be also the Son of God,
I would argue that they're probably, and maybe it's just because we live in the States, but I would argue to say that those are probably the most popular, or at least have the largest following.
Not worldwide, but in the States, definitely.
What has the largest worldwide?
Well, actually, currently it's atheism, just straight out.
Well, I wasn't even considering that. But
well, it's still considered a faith because
you have just as much faith that it doesn't exist as you do that it would.
Right.
And I've heard that before.
Yeah. So
that's my favorite argument from people. I love when people who do subscribe to whatever, and they go, well, wouldn't it just be safer to do it anyway? Like, wouldn't that be the safe bet? And I'm like, yeah, but that like your God is not gonna buy that, right? Like, if you don't wholeheartedly believe, you faking it until you make it's not a real thing in religion, buddy. You ever read the book
about you, Dalton? Because you come from a place of logic with everything.
Well, I was raised Christian,
but still, you understand something that majority of Christians don't understand, which is that you can't buy fire insurance. That's kind of like the classic Baptist term.
Okay, I like that. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, that's
fire insurance. That's nice.
I grew up hearing that a lot because that's funny. It's just a get out of hell free card,
right?
Like that's the idea, but it's stupid.
Because it's asinine, honestly.
It's just disingenuous garbage at the end of the day, which is 90% of Sunday morning Christians anyway, because they don't research their faith. They don't do anything past sitting there and listening to what the preacher says.
Right.
They just, they're worshiping that guy, not the religion, not God, not Jesus. They're going, I trust this pastor to be the shipmaster of my life.
Like he's just gonna put in a good word for you.
Right.
Hey, this one can slide through.
Yeah, it's like he's your spiritual manager here on earth.
Right.
Garbage.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate it so
Terrible
much.
outlook.
But so the whole
I'll see them in hell.
Yeah. So the whole Christ thing, he's supposed to understand that he's the Son of God. But because he's supposed to be a redemption story for humans and relate to our human sensibility, and because God knew that we would need that, he didn't send down a carbon copy of himself. He made Jesus go from birth to death, experience the whole amount of human suffering, so that he could be empathetic towards the cause. So when he's on the cross saying, "Forgive them, they know not what they do," he's not just talking to himself. He's saying, Father, I understand that we're one and the same, but I am a human experiencing human issues, and I understand them better than you do because you created them and then haven't walked amongst them. So in a way, Jesus is supposed to be the conduit for God understanding human suffering. which is talked about time and time again, especially in the Old Testament, because he causes things like the flood story. And that's supposed to be a punishment and a condemnation for the sins of humans on earth. Well, the Jesus story is the redemption of those ugly qualities that aren't understood by the Creator, or are understood but not in a personal level.
That's interesting to me, simply because of all the things that I've read, I really love like the like kind of woo-woo spiritual stuff. It's just super interesting.
So fun.
Yeah, it's really fun.
It's
really
garbage,
interesting.
but it's fun, yeah.
I don't know if I'd say it's garbage. I think it depends on which part you really read into. But
well, and how many sources would actually.
Well, I don't really care about sources because I feel like I feel like when it comes to something like how we got here or what happens when we die, there is no source material realistically. I mean, like you can say I put my faith in this book, but there's nobody.
Well, and
nobody
there's generational
knows.
teaching throughout time, but the real like free spirited people, they always like to say, you are the universe experiencing itself as an individual, because the universe wants to learn about itself, and maybe the universe got bored. But that it kind of sounds like what you're saying is like God created Jesus, and that is an extension of himself, but he created Jesus to experience life amongst human in a human manner. Right. And so it's really interesting the way that kind of ties in to the spiritual woo-woo stuff. But that's the thing, Dalton. The more that I the more that I delve into other religions, spiritual talk in general.
Is that a soda you just opened?
Yes.
It's definitely not alcoholic.
No.
Nice.
Of course not.
Okay. We don't drink on this podcast.
Never once.
Well, I don't know.
Grape juice only.
Just in a fancy box.
Yeah. They sell boxed grape juice.
Yeah.
It's the communion wine.
There you go. You can't demonetize us for communion wine.
Exactly.
That's smart.
Religious freedom.
Yeah, we're just enjoying the blood of God.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have the bread, but Well, it's okay.
We get our carbs from beer. So.
Yes. It's one and the same
Off
now.
camera.
Off camera.
Off camera.
Off camera. Never once on camera.
No.
So the reason I'm a Christian and what I always find is that the more people try and make things sound different, the more everything sounds the same. And it just echoes over and over and over again. Yeah. Even if you want to take like the Hindu faith, or you want to take like,
I would say all faith
Buddhism,
to a degree. It
doesn't matter. At a certain base level, there is a similarity between 99.9% of organized religion, unless they're new, like Scientology, something like that.
Religion, Scientology,
scams, UFO cults.
Those are the ones that will come after us, bro. They will send your homeboy Mission Impossible to our house to fucking. he'll come fucking straight through the ceiling.
See, here's the thing: I can fuck up Tom Cruise.
You think you could fuck up Tom Cruise?
Yeah, with my boot.
No, I think there's not a chance.
Come on.
No. You want to talk? Let's talk about it realistically.
Realistically,
I
can fuck up Tom Cruise.
There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way. I don't care how much he weighs. I don't care what his height is. I know you have him at an advantage, but when you take all point. That, listen, he has had legitimate fight training. He's had legitimate stunt coordinating and fight training.
In bullshit martial arts.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't. No, I mean, even for movies, to choreograph fight scenes, you have to know how to fight. You have to know what to look for, and you have to be ready for it, because whenever they act it out, it never acts out the exact same every single time.
No, yeah.
To a degree, it does, because it's choreographed. But I'm telling you right now, any actor that is trained in fighting, almost guaranteed they would whoop both of our ass.
So this is where I'm coming from on this. Tom Cruise, and I know this from personal experience.
Well, this is going to be interesting.
People who you underestimate strength-wise sometimes feel like they have limbs made of cable steel. Like, ridiculous strength out of nowhere. Like Evan. We have a mutual friend named Evan Williams.
Yep. Damn. First and last name.
Oh, yeah. Shouts out to Evan Williams.
Not the whiskey.
Well, maybe both.
There's one good Evan Williams.
The honey?
No, what is it, 1783 or something like that.
Oh, yeah. The reserve stuff, that's pretty okay.
Yeah, it's like $12, but it tastes like it tastes better than Jack Daniels.
Well, Gentleman Jack has both beat though. That's
yeah, but it's also
whiskey.
$40, and it's
True.
not $40 good.
No, I'd rather have like low shelf Angel's Envy or something like that over that.
Fucking
Any
right.
day of the
I
week.
love Angel's
So
Envy.
good. That shit is like
That is my
liquid gold.
That is my go-to non-allocated bourbon.
Mine's Four Roses just because it's a little cheaper, but
It's a little cheaper, but it's nowhere near as good.
I think it's pretty good. It's a little
Maybe
bit more
if you
bitey.
get like, maybe if you get like the
double barrel or
whatever it is, barrel strength or cask strength or
Yeah.
whatever their small batch is. Well,
Yeah.
isn't all?
I think it's all small batch.
Is it all small batch?
I think so.
There's one of them specific. Maybe it's the single barrel. Maybe it's
Okay.
that one. That's pretty good.
That
but
sounds right.
Four Roses in general, I can fucking pass up on any day of the
It's
week.
just really drinkable for the price, in my opinion.
I mean, it's definitely drinkable, but that,
Yeah. Again, I haven't had bourbon in a while though, other than what you gave me.
E.H. Taylor.
That was insanely good.
That's a good bourbon. Yeah, E.H. Taylor's good, man. Hard to find. Hard to
Yeah.
find. Typically, if you can find it on a shelf
Yeah.
at a reputable place that doesn't want to lose customers,
Right.
you can usually get it for like $50 to $60 a bottle. But on the black market or the secondhand market, yeah,
Right.
you're paying $150 all day. It's just hard to get a hold of, man. It's like
Yeah.
Pappy Van Winkle, like it's
Yeah.
just
Which I've had a couple of times and I love
Pappy. It's okay.
It's so expensive.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
When the sea salt Angel's Envy for like $60-$70 is
I don't know
like
if I've had the sea salt. The one that kills me nowadays is Buffalo Trace Distillery has fucking bought all the good shit, right? So
Yeah.
like they
Which is fine,
sell
'cause they're the
Buffalo Trace.
oldest.
Yeah, and it's good.
It's good.
But like Buffalo Trace 2 years ago, I could get for $25 a bottle,
Yeah.
and I mean they had fucking 18 bottles on the shelf.
Right.
Nowadays, I've been to certain places that want $40 a bottle. Yeah. Oh
No.
yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
I saw
not
it for
that good.
$40. No, fuck no, it's not that
not
good.
even close.
No, if I'm paying $40 for that, I'll spend the extra 10 for Angel's Envy
Yeah.
any day
Oh,
of the
yeah.
fucking week.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so like, Buffalo Trace is pretty good for $25.
Right.
30 tops.
yeah.
Eagle Rare though.
Oh,
Big fan of Eagle Rare. Great bourbon. Blanton's, great
Blanton's, of
bourbon.
course.
Great
Of course,
bourbon.
Blanton's is super florally. That's the one thing I don't
know if
love
I've
about
picked up on that.
Blanton's.
I don't know
It's
if I.
very perfumey to me.
You think?
It's got a lot of aroma.
Would you take Eagle Rare over Blanton's?
Yes.
I think I would too, just because it
Yeah.
holds a special place in my heart. But
Well, it's a better value, I think, too.
yeah,
You get a little bit more alcohol per volume, get less bite, more smooth. Eagle Rare is one of those bourbons that if you didn't tell me it was a bourbon, I probably would have thought it was a Scotch, which I think is a really high compliment.
Eagle Rare?
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
There's no smokiness to it though.
No, but then again, if you drink like Lefroy or something like that, like a high-end Scotch or like
Not much smokiness.
it's all caramel.
It's more of a Glendivet thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is great. I love that stuff too.
If you get the expensive one,
Yeah.
the bottom shelf Glendivet is not that good.
No, but then again, I don't buy that at a liquor store. I normally get like 2 fingers of that at a bar or something like
Right,
that.
right.
Which again,
So you're not paying a
so
fucking
expensive.
arm and a leg for. Oh well,
but-
yeah. But I mean,
But
that's
one
to
glass
be.
of that and you're good.
I mean, dude, if you're paying $5 for one Bud Light, and you know that you can get a 6-pack for $6,
Right.
There's really not a lot of room to bitch about
No,
$10
no.
for a bourbon that you can buy for $50. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
well, and especially with that stuff too, like beer is shockingly overpriced.
Oh, yeah.
Especially at a place where they know you're willing to pay for beer specifically, like
Downtown Nashville?
everywhere in downtown Nashville.
yeah.
Because they'll take literally like a $9 6-pack and split that up into $6.50 a beer, and all of a sudden, you drink 2 of those, they've made their money back. When they paid like,
Dude, I don't know where you're buying beer, but the last time I was in downtown Nash, I was paying like $8 a beer, and I was drinking Coors Light.
I was thinking like Mayday Tap somewhere.
Okay.
That's normally like, well, any tap is a little less expensive.
Then bottle.
Which is weird to me because it tastes better out of the tap if it's like
I think so.
recently been tapped.
Yeah, I think so.
If it's an old tap, then it's not great at all. But If it was recently tapped, I'd much rather have like a draft.
I mean, honestly, even Michelob Ultra. Like, I know that.
You mean pee?
Well,
Drinkable
I was gonna say I know a lot of people don't love Mickey Ults. Mickey Ults holds a special place in my heart because when I was on keto, that was my go-to bitch.
Oh yeah, it's way better than the Yingling Flight or was that Bud Light?
I didn't. Oh no, you're talking about the zero carb beer.
That shit
the
is
Bud
gross.
Bud Zero.
Gross.
I think that's what it's called. It is.
Well,
the
there's a Bud
worst.
Zero now, but there was also the Flight, which was like 2 carbs.
Well, that was Yingling.
Okay, so it was Yingling. Yeah,
that's not bad. That's not terrible. It's not as bad as the fucking Zero beer from Bud Light. That shit is awful.
Although the Yingling Flight cold tastes like a warm Natty Daddy.
You don't make sense to me. You don't make sense to me, man. Anyway, tapped Michelob Ultra tastes kind of vanilla-y, which isn't awful.
No, that's true.
It's not awful.
I know what you mean. Because
it's not awful.
There was a bar when I was in college that had $2 Mich Ultra nights, and I would go there for that. And it was always tapped, and it was always better because it had a little bit of that vanilla. And that's what I like about Miller Lite.
Oh, God. I would fucking hate Miller Lite.
I would rather have a Miller Lite. This is my tiers for beer.
Oh, God.
Low end, if I have like, if I'm going to spend like $10 on a 6-pack, no. Sorry.
Like $8?
If I want to spend like $10 on a 12-pack, it's either Miller High Life or Miller Lite. The next step up is Blue Moon. Then I will take any craft beer over any of those two. It doesn't matter what kind it is. It could be a lager.
Fucking worst.
See, that's how I feel about Bud, though.
I hate Budweiser. I hate Bud Light. Yeah, I hate Budweiser. I hate Bud Light. I don't like any of them.
And Bud Light especially is bad because it's made with rice, which just tastes like shit.
Awful. My go-to domestic is probably Coors Light. I'm not a big domestic boy, but I'll drink Coors Light. I'll drink Busch Light. I love Busch. Honestly, straight up Busch Heavy. Busch Heavy outranks almost all domestic beers in my opinion. Almost all of them.
I can't.
Matter of fact, maybe all of them, because I'm trying to think about it. I don't know if I would take another one over Busch Heavy.
Is Shiner Bock domestic? Because I will take a Bock.
I fucking hate Shiner Bock.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's gross.
See, I think you and me just have different beer tastes.
But we don't.
What? Okay. What is your king beer? Like top shelf. I'm willing to pay like $10 a beer for this if I go out or more.
Fuck. Go-to beer?
Yeah. Well, because I know you and me have gone out to like beer places, and you've gotten very similar things to what I would think to get. So I'm trying to get like a frame of reference for like where your top shelf is, because our bottom shelves are very different.
Apparently, I'm just gonna name a few because it's hard. It's hard to pick just a straight up.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Gotta Get Up to Get Down.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Coffee beer.
That's the local, just great beer. Yeah. I like that way more than the tailgate stuff.
Yeah. If I'm gonna drink an IPA, I like the Sierra Nevada Hazy IPA.
Yeah.
That's a great IPA. The orange can.
Yeah.
I like some Left Hand Milk Stout. It's not my go-to.
Yeah.
I like the peanut butter milk stout from Tailgate.
The peanut butter one is the only good one.
The Imperial peanut butter milk stout's the best.
Sorry,
though.
That one is insane.
That is, which is crazy because it's
Imperials are the best.
Oh yeah, and it's like 11% alcohol, but it shits on the other one.
Oh, I know.
Even in flavor, you're like, this tastes like a fucking smoothie.
It's just like when we used to work at the vape shop, and we would always tell people, if you want flavor, get some nicotine, because that bite always pushes whatever natural flavor is in there. And I think that it's the same thing with beer. You add a little bit more alcohol, because in that 4 to 5 to 6% mark, you're not really getting the alcohol bite.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't like that though. There's a lot of people that drink and they just, we happen to.
Yeah, but they like Reds and shit like that. They're not drinking like.
We're not far off right now.
Fair.
This is this is a switch for us though. I think this is the first time we've had a seltzer on the podcast.
Yeah, true.
We've recorded like 6 of these right now.
7. I think that for this it's a really, really great idea.
It's very light. It's very easy.
I will say though, there's nothing I would oh my god. Oh, let me finish my first sentence. I I don't think I would take anything over an Imperial. I don't care what company.
I do
from.
love Imperials.
They're
man.
the best.
I'm a big fan of juicy IPAs, like juicy hazy IPAs.
So Voodoo Ranger makes
the
9.5.
I think I called you the other night after you had a couple of those.
They're
that's when
good.
Poem FaceTimed me.
yeah.
And you were standing in the background shirtless eating fucking ramen noodles or whatever you were eating.
That was a good night. I remember that.
Yeah, we were gonna go to that comedy show.
Yeah,
and then I couldn't get out.
Yep.
That's
Whereas I was just on cloud 9, ready to do whatever.
I think the next one though.
It's
quick
in February,
plug.
right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no point in plugging because by the time this comes out, we will have already been and gone.
True.
Yeah,
but
because we're on backlog right now.
Even still, if
February 13th, I believe, is
13th.
Jokes and Smokes at
Liquid Smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say I'm only Smoke Token. Always. Listen, fuck it.
Well,
plug Smoke Token real quick, man. Great head shop, but
Smoke Token now has a new portion of their business too.
Really,
Smoke Token Club.
You're shitting me.
It's in Smyrna.
What?
It's where the old Food Lion used to be.
What?
Yep.
It's a club?
It's a Smoke Token Club. Where I think you just go in there and like can do Delta all day or whatever.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll start doing live shows and shit.
I think that would be smart.
Maybe we should talk to them.
It's a good idea. Very
Anyway.
much our kind of audience.
So, all right. So to move, we've been on quite a few beats.
Yes.
Oh,
real quick.
right, come
Sorry.
on.
Just one more thing. On the beer recommendation platform, I had a draft Imperial the other day. That was an oatmeal cookie.
From where? Oh yeah.
Dude. Oh my God, that thing was insane. Wall Street.
I was just at Wall Street.
When? You gotta tell me when you.
Wednesday.
You gotta tell me when you do that.
So, Wednesday, real quick.
Yes.
We got a babysitter and went to the Jack Brown's Cardi B night.
I didn't even hear about
Grace
that.
and I did. Yeah, so Jack Brown's had a Cardi B night where the entire night they literally just played Cardi B.
I didn't even know she had enough to do that.
Between singles and features.
She does say she works the most out of any female rap artist.
And she did have quite the catalog. We were there for 2 hours, and I don't think I heard the same song twice. Wow. So, yeah, good for her, man.
Good for Cardi.
Well, she came out with a new whipped cream line.
The alcoholic whipped cream.
Alcoholic whipped
Yes.
cream. It's 10% alcohol
per shot
of whipped cream. And so what they were doing is they were giving out beers. Not giving out, but the Cardi B special was
a blowjob shot.
It was.
I mean, it's kind of that, but with beer, I guess.
Yeah, it was a fuck. I wish I could remember the beer now. It was a porter or a stout, and then it was topped.
Well, yeah,
with
because
her
you need
whipped
the
cream.
milkiness to kind of tie the whipped cream together.
It was good.
Yeah,
it was good. It was a good time. You know, Jack Brown's has great burgers too, so it was a good time across the board.
And there's multiple of them. It's a franchise.
Nashville and Murfreesboro are the two that I know of. But
if you're in either of those cities, go check out Jack Brown's. You won't get a better burger in town unless you go to like a real hole in the wall like
Buster's is a Murfreesboro staple over on Broad Street.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Buster's
great burgers.
is good. Buster's is real good.
I'll tell you what, dude, as a chain, Bad Daddy has pretty good burgers.
I don't
It's
think
over there
it's
over there on Medical Center.
Okay. Huh. I'll have to go try that out.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. They got good burgers.
Nice. There's this one gas station called Fat Guy's Barbecue that I've been wanting to try.
Quick Sack.
Yeah, it's in the Quick Sack.
Yep.
I
know the dude who owns the Quick Sack.
Oh, interesting. I went in there the other day.
If it's still the same guy. He was an MTSU professor.
Huh. Yeah, I'm sure that it is. When I went in there the other day, I was in a rainstorm. And to give you some context, I'm fasting with my church right now, so I'm only having
one meal a day.
Outside
of the drinks.
Well, I don't consider that to be a meal.
Which are non-alcoholic.
And I'm not snacking or anything like that either.
Not at all?
None. No. I eat once a day. That's it. Nice. Today I had a rice concoction of rice, Greek yogurt, peas, and kale. And then on the side, I had grapes and a whole bag of broccoli.
Buddy, you got to bump those numbers up, dude. If you're doing one meal a day, which is super healthy because fasting is super healthy, but you've got to make sure that you're getting enough calories, enough fat, enough protein.
The reason I'm doing it this way is because
I'm going to feel miserable.
Yes, actually. The hunger pains are supposed to be my reminder to read the Bible and to pray. So...
That sounds wild.
It's a difficult mental game to
Not
play.
in like a disrespectful way.
No, it's just hard. Yeah,
me.
it's very... Well, the whole thing is... The reason that you fast, really, if we're going to be honest, is because this is what the holy men of the Bible did, and every single time they would have hallucinogenic spiritual experiences.
But people were fasting before Jesus.
And I'm not trying to push it to the extent where I'm like blacking out in the street and having...
Well, I don't think you should either. I think fasting is important personally because we're so off track, but that's fine. Fuck them. So I think fasting is personally important because based on everything I've read, which makes sense to me, we've gotten entirely too comfortable being full. Yes. We've gotten entirely too comfortable of being able to eat whenever we want to, but that's realistically not what our body was designed to do. Because since the dawn of time, we didn't always have fucking Kroger's. You know what I mean? Like it was like, hey man, you eat when you eat. And then you might not eat tomorrow. Well, and then maybe you've got to fucking wait 3 days and then you eat. And then, maybe you have a good stretch and you eat for a full week. But if you knock down a buffalo or something, but
you got meals for a month.
Right. But that's not always going to happen.
No.
It's not always going to happen. And so our bodies were not designed to eat 3 fucking square meals a day.
No.
They just weren't. And now we've gotten so used to where we eat and snack and eat and snack and eat. And then dessert, and then we go to bed.
Right.
Your body never has time to digest the food that's in it before it's like, fuck, I gotta push this out so that I can make room for more. It's not absorbing all the nutrients. It's not getting all of the benefits of the meal that you ate prior because you're just slamming more shit on top of it.
Right.
You're just cramming more on top of it.
Well, and on top of that, it's not like nutrient-rich food by and large.
No, motherfuckers are eating breakfast burritos at 9 a.m. and then at 11, they're just eating Doritos.
Right. Or like, yeah, I mean,
what the fuck is that?
It's
a triangular death.
Yes.
That's what it is.
But it's also an evident part of humans being... I don't want to say that we're like immoral creatures, because I don't believe that. But what I would say is that humans have a really difficult time with any sort of moderation or portion control.
Oh yeah, we're awful. And I'm not a shining example. Nobody is.
No. Well, you can't.
Some people are.
It's real. Unless you're David Goggins, it's super hard.
I was gonna fucking say him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, some would argue that he overdoes it in a healthy extent. He overruns. He knows he overruns.
Yes.
He's literally blown his goddamn legs apart running.
But that's so different. Because that's...
It's not different. You're still overdoing it. You're overdoing a good thing just as well as someone can overdo a bad thing. Overdoing everything in moderation. Not every bad thing in moderation. Everything in moderation.
Period, yeah. And I do agree with that.
It's not healthy to run that much.
No. Well, and he knows that. He's doing it because of a place of insecurity within himself.
Sure, and he's been very open about that.
Right.
And he's a fucking psychopath.
Yeah. And he's open about that too.
Yeah, I mean, like, in a good way. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather be around him than be around fucking Ted Bundy or something.
Yeah. Well, you're a male, so you have advantage with Ted Bundy over half of the population.
What do you mean?
Because he only killed women.
Ted Bundy?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I'm thinking of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Did you read?
Dude, I swear to God, listen, the amount of times on this fucking show that I say one thing and mean another, yeah. I'm still haunted by the fact that I said Orlando Bloom.
Look,
I'm glad that I found myself full circle within like a 5-minute time frame so that people will see. That'll be a clip that we post because that's fucking ridiculous, dude.
It's hilarious.
I really thought it was Orlando. I would have died right there. I would have been like, yeah, dude, it's fucking Orlando Bloom.
It's Orlando Bloom.
It's Orlando Brown. That crazy son of a bitch.
Which he is. But funny enough.
Love you, Orlando Bloom.
Yes. Legolas knows what's up.
Tell you what, man. It's a handsome fella.
He's a handsome fella.
It's a handsome fella.
Although, I think he made the right move. He pulled like a whole Brendan Fraser and just got out of the spotlight for a while.
Well, I don't think Brendan Fraser did it on purpose, though.
No, he did it because he had to care for his daughter.
He did it for a multitude of reasons, that being one. But,
yeah.
I mean, there was definitely other behind-the-scenes things.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, it wasn't just the daughter thing.
No.
I mean, like, listen, I don't want to tell... I'm not him. I don't want to tell his story. But, I mean, he was blacklisted.
Right.
You don't get blacklisted for wanting to take care of your daughter.
But I still don't understand why.
Because he was at the Golden Globes.
Okay,
and that's why he won't ever go back.
Let's hear it. Yeah.
Well, and this is from him. Not that he called me or anything, but I just saw him talking on a show about it. And granted, I don't know when he talked on the show, but it was essentially...
He's very open.
He's very open now.
Yeah. Well, he pulled a Chappelle then.
So when he was at the Golden Globes, there was maybe it was the founder of the Golden Globes or the president at the time. It was a very high up person, a very high up prestigious person at this event.
Yeah.
And he it was either he got waved over or like ran into him, and this was after The Mummy.
The best thing,
because that's really what put him on the map.
Yeah, well, that and like George of the Jungle, but
Yeah, but as far as serious roles, we're talking serious roles.
Yeah,
those are family movies, dude. People like The Mummy was like they thought Brendan Fraser for a long time. They thought Brendan Fraser was gonna be the next action star. They really did, because they were like, he's charismatic, he's funny, he fits the role, he's confident. We love it. We love it. So. He either got waved over or ran into him, and I wish I could remember the guy's name, but I can't. But he walked up, and he introduced himself, and the older gentleman of power caressed him, grabbed him inappropriately.
Oh, okay.
And, he was married at the time, and Brendan Fraser, not that it would have changed anything, but Brendan Fraser was very uncomfortable, and he went home and told his wife about what happened. And, they considered maybe, like, getting law enforcement involved and decided it just wasn't worth it. Yeah. It's just not worth it. But...
Well, because, honestly, for a young actor, it would be more legal and financial
which is
trouble.
So heartbreaking that you have to worry about shit like that.
But lawyers cost money.
They do. And well, especially when you're going up a fucking person of power like that in Hollywood, dude. They have a legal assassin team.
It's ridiculous.
And so that went down, and it was kind of like whenever he denied that or like was like, hey, what the fuck? And kind of like spoke out about it. That was it.
It just never got nominated.
Didn't get a role for a very long time. Until he got he doesn't work anymore here.
Interesting.
And then it took him a long time and a lot of determination, and that's why he's got such a great comeback story. Because The
Whale is incredible.
I haven't got to see it yet. Is it really good? I have not got to see it yet.
Well, I'm not a huge fan of movies like that, mostly just because they wreck me emotionally. It's just funny because
I love that though.
I can watch something like 100 Days of Sodom or like Sweet Movie, and it doesn't affect me whatsoever because it's
don't
just
know
like
what either one of those are.
They're like nonsensical, gross art house movies.
Oh, okay.
It's just like
should have known.
Just people eating shit and like getting stabbed.
What is it about you?
Weird. So like
No. Let's hold on before we fucking spiral out of control per usual. What is it about? So, what would you classify The Whale? A drama? Because I know the premise of it.
Yeah, no, it's a drama for sure.
And you usually don't watch those.
It's not that I don't watch dramas. It's that I specifically stay away from stuff like Marriage Story.
Oh God, I fucking thrive off that shit.
You love it, but it hits too close to home. Not because I had like dysfunctional parents or anything like that, but more that I have like so much empathy for that situation.
Yeah, no, I'm super empathetic as well when it comes to stuff like that.
But you know how to interpret it in a way that like you can kind of like shrug it off or make sense of it. I can do that with.
I cry.
Yeah, but you cry and then you praise the success of the movie.
My big thing is, and Grace calls me out all the time, because even like when I play music, right? Yeah. Like, so like if I'm playing guitar and singing, there's a 90% chance that it's a fucking depressing ass song. But my thing is I listen to depressing music and I watch depressing movies because if I can give you 2 hours of my life And in the start of it, I know nothing about these people. And then by the end of it, you have me emotional about it. And I feel like I'm personally affected by it. You did one hell of a job.
Yeah, fair.
You deserve all the praise. The actors, the director, the writer, whoever. Because it's just like, man, that is talent. That is talent to like...
Yeah.
And especially if it's a musician, they have 3.5 minutes on average to make you feel what they feel when they wrote that.
Yeah.
And if you can write a song that brings a tear to my eye, dude, forever will be like, you are a hell of an artist. Someone who's done it multiple times. And I'm not even the biggest country fan. I like country music to a degree, but it's not like my go-to.
Yeah.
Craig Morgan, who lives up towards Dixon, I believe.
Okay.
He has several songs that I have played, and even Grace, who hates country music.
Yeah.
I looked over at her in the car, and she was fucking tearing up.
Dang.
Yeah, over one of his songs. Yo, dude, he's got one song called My Father, My Son, and the Holy Ghost, because his son was 19. This is based on a real thing. His son was 19 years old, and he was tubing on the Tennessee River, and a freak accident happened, and his kid died. And I could not fucking imagine. Yeah. I could not imagine. And he wrote that song.
Yeah.
My Father, My Son, and the Holy Ghost. And it is, dude, it is
I can
gut wrenching.
Infer from the title.
It is gut. I'm gonna make you listen to it whenever we get done with this.
Yeah.
Gut wrenching.
So I already know that I'm like pretty easily
emotionally influenced.
Yeah, I cry a lot. Just period. I've always been one of those.
It's good to be in tune.
I think so. But I like when we worked at the vape shop together. I hate to admit this, but it's 100% true. Because I was going through such a time after Darren passed.
Yo, yeah.
I used to just like pull up like puppy videos and like animals being cute and shit, like trying to like cheer myself up.
Yeah.
And would just bawl my eyes out until a customer came in.
Yeah, man, there's a couple of times I was doing dishes and just...
Yeah.
I don't know why that sticks out to me, but I just remember... I remember the day after, and we're not going to make this a whole fucking segment or anything. We love Darren, but we're not going to overdo it. But yeah, I remember the day... Yeah, we'll dive into it later. But I just remember the day after it happened.
Oh, God.
And... You know, I got the call and I ended up at the hospital. I was trying to like take care of me and take care of his family and fucking just come to grips with the fact that this is reality now. And I just remember being at home the next day. It's like, dude, the earth doesn't stop spinning. Life keeps going. Yeah. And, you know, I just remember standing there and there were dishes in the sink and I was like, I guess I got to do dishes. And I just remember standing there like, I was almost done. It was just like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What the fuck, man? This is bullshit.
This
is bullshit.
There's a particular stoplight here in town that I avoid because every time I pull up to it, I don't know why. I guess at one point in time I just lost it when I was at that stoplight. But every time I pull up to it, all I can think about is Darren. And
I won't drive down Old Nashville Highway anymore. Because the temple is on Old Nashville Highway, and that's where he's buried. Yep. And I won't drive past it.
I have thought so many times about stopping there, and I never do because I don't know the logistics of going to visit someone at that temple.
Everybody's free to.
Okay.
Yeah, you could pull in. No big deal.
Okay. Well, I might do that. Because I've
been saying that for...
wanted to.
A long time.
It's really hard.
I need to.
Yeah, I know. Maybe we should do it together because it's hard to come to terms with just the thought of situation. Going to,
yeah, that's why I haven't been.
I know. And it's
like
so difficult to even bring yourself to go see someone you loved that much. Period. It wouldn't matter if it was a family member or a friend. Like,
yeah,
you go and see the final resting place of that person, and it brings something out of you.
Well,
yeah. Well, we've got other issues. With it, but
yeah, that's why I stopped myself. I was like, this is not the platform to talk about that specific side of it.
But in a more broad sense, it's always difficult.
Yeah.
To go and visit a loved one like that, especially someone who was so undeserving of what happened to them.
Yeah, I mean, a very influential person in my life personally, just based
same.
on his drive
Yeah.
for wanting better for himself, and not even just for himself, but for everybody. He's more so himself, not even so, like more so everybody else around him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the type of dude who would
He just built
do
up
anything.
everybody.
Yeah. But anyway,
Yeah.
we should. That's for later.
That's for a different time.
Let's move on to something we should actually talk about.
Okay. You want to talk about the thing I think you want to talk about?
Probably.
Cool.
Do you know who the chances of this are so astronomically slim? Do you know who a guy named Grady Smith is?
No.
YouTuber? Okay,
No idea.
So I can't remember where he's from now. Grady Smith, he's like real big. He's very developed into the country scene.
Okay.
And you know, he makes interesting videos, and so like I watch him.
Yeah.
He's very, you know.
Does he do country music, or is it?
No, he doesn't do country music, but he's like a huge fan of country music.
Yeah.
And so
just a figure in that realm.
kind of, yeah.
Okay.
So like he makes videos like, you know, best country song of the year, and like what is the most bullshit radio hit that's come out. Like because he's not a big fan of radio.
So he's talked
country.
about Low Cash quite a bit.
I think he actually has.
I'm not shocked.
Yeah, he's not a big fan of like the basic, you know, I got my bare feet and my guitar and my moonshine.
Yeah,
Like, he doesn't
same.
like that shit. Like
Same.
he's very big into like the real hard hitting country music. He was real big on
good
Zach
stuff.
Bryan before Zach Bryan blew up. Do you know who Zach Bryan
Yeah.
is?
Oh yeah.
Even if you don't like country
Oh,
music,
no,
you gotta
he's
admit
great.
that motherfucker is solid.
Yeah.
So, he is the first person somehow that I heard about Chat GPT from.
Interesting. That's
Right?
That's a funny connection,
Isn't
too.
it? Yeah. So Grady Smith made a video about Chat GPT and how terrifying AI can truly be, and in ways that we kind of didn't think about in the past, because before we were just like, oh, AI would be great, you know, we have fucking
Yeah.
robots and shit. No.
Well, I don't know that was necessarily.
Well, I'm relating it to like fucking iRobot with Will Smith, you know what I mean? But like,
Yeah.
So he's going over Chat GPT, which is
Like as a
an
concept.
artificial intelligence script writer.
Yes.
So he logs into this thing or pulls it up or however it works, because I refuse to even
I think
play
it's
with
a
it, honestly.
website.
I think it is.
Well, I think it's a thing, like it's a computer somewhere, but I think that there are multiple portals to access it.
Well, he
I could
so
be
you give it a
A prompt.
prompt.
Right? Yeah.
And so his prompt was write a Zach Bryan song. So it wrote this song, but it wrote it in like third person Zach Bryan. And so he like rewrote the
interesting.
prompt and was like, write a song from the first person view as if you were Zach Bryan.
Right.
And it like within clicking submit wrote this entire song, which 100% sounded exactly like something Zach Bryan would write. And man, it just got me thinking. I was just like, and he was talking very heavily about it as well, like how terrifying that is, because it's a very scary reality to think that, you know, songwriting is something, if you have the gift, you have it. You know what I mean? Like to write
in a traditional sense, yes.
Right. So to write a very true human heartfelt song, you gotta have that in you, that emotion. And it's scary
Right.
to think that all of a sudden there could be this entire field of work jeopardized by what is essentially not a robot but a computer algorithm, and then it could just take all the data from all the songs ever written, use that algorithm to just write and pump out new songs. And outside of that, when you look at it from that perspective, you go, okay, not only is the music industry affected, but then how long is it going to take before it's writing whole fucking scripts for movies and TV shows?
I haven't even. I have a different takeaway from it, even that relates more so to what you just said. First, though, I feel like it's important to make the caveat that already the songwriting space is sort of that. Because if you look up, I'll just pick on Sam Smith for a second. I always thought that he was a good artist in the fact that he was unique vocally and had some stage presence, and all of his songs were pop, but had a little extra to them.
That one song still gets stuck in my head sometimes.
Stay With Me, that was like the original hit.
Stay With Me, yeah, that's one of them. What was the other big one?
The new one is Body Shop.
No, not that. He had another one around that time. All right, go ahead.
So the thing with Body Shop, he didn't write any of it. And there are 5 different lyricists. Just lyricists, not even producers. 8 different producers.
Damn.
Associated to this one track. The music industry is already trying to do that with real life people. They're trying to aggregate the mass production of hit material.
Well, at that point, he's just a showman. At that point,
Right.
he's just a face to the music.
He's a conduit to whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
That's always been a thing, though.
Totally. But what I'm saying, though, is that I don't think the music industry will change because of ChatGPT.
You don't think AI is going to affect the music industry at all? Because now you got to think about the people that are going to get put out of work, because I don't need you if I can just type in...
It'll affect it, but here's the difference. Human songwriting and emotions will always...
prevail?
I don't know that they'll always chart better, but they're always going to produce equally as good songs. Because the only thing that ChatGPT is doing is aggregating human sensibilities when it goes to write something. And really, at the very most, it's like an excellent Xerox of a Xerox. It's never going to be wholly original other than the fact that you're shuffling a deck of cards. But there is a limit to possibility. And I think humans, we're not going to outdo the possibility that's there, that exists. But I do believe that we will write things that are wholly more original than a computer ever will be able to do.
Dude, I hope so, but it does scare me to a degree, because you give enough data to a system like that and it could fool anybody.
So here's what I'm interested in, and what I really think is going to be the ultimate conclusion for how we use ChatGPT as humans.
Mm-hmm.
Someone typed into it the other day and said, make a trailer for Family Guy as an 80s sitcom.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Was that ChatGPT or was that just an AI
No,
service?
that was ChatGPT. And it was ridiculously, like...
It's very 80s.
Natural looking.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it. I was like, wow.
That was intimidating to me.
Yeah.
But...
Wasn't it just stills, though? Or was it an actual video?
So that's the interesting part. It's not just stills and it's not a video. It's stills that morph throughout the video and digital camera movements. So like, I don't know how many people know this, but everything is shot in 4, 6, or 8K at this point, and most of that is because of how much reframing you can do in the editing software. So like, for instance, if you shoot 1080p, when you zoom into that image, it's going to be fairly grainy, not horrible, not unwatchable, but it's going to be grainy enough to where you don't want to look at it very long. It's okay for quick cuts if you want to punch in, highlight something, and then punch out. 4K, 6K, 8K makes it so, and now Blackmagic has a 12K sensor, which is really interesting. But it makes it so you could set up a wide shot of a room, and you could zoom into literally anything and not lose any definition. So in editing terms nowadays, a lot of people use what they call digital zooms, or sort of like a 3D post-processing, where they take the initial image and then they superimpose either 3D space around it with a digital camera that they add later, or they zoom into specific portions of the image and move around the image using keyframes to animate that later in the editing software. What this did was actually emulate that trend, but in a very 80s manner. Color correction was very 80s. Interior design, costuming, all very 80s.
It looked like it was shot.
Right. And that's the thing. It looked like it was shot. That's the crazy part. Yeah. It doesn't just do it as however a computer would think up a movie. It did it in a style that not only makes sense for today's audience, but a nostalgic audience as well. So what I feel like, and the first thing I thought of when I saw that was, why didn't they just prompt it with, give me a season of Family Guy as though it was a 1980 sitcom? I really think that the future of filmmaking is going to be really creative chat GPT prompts that spits out wholly original films without having anything. And the furthest extent of that is I see the Academy Awards going to programmers who design better actors than we can physically have as humans.
So eventually actors will be CGI to a sense. As far as what easy to digest, easy to understand, yes. We'll call it CGI.
Well, and even more so, we're kind of doing that already. Whereas,
to a degree.
Well, like, for instance, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. in the last Avengers movie shot for 2 weeks because he was 90% CG for the entire movie. They did a motion cap of him. They reconstructed his face digitally. They put him in a green screen suit. They walked him around on the platform for 2 weeks, had him say his lines, had him come back to do a little ADR, which is basically re-recording dialogue later.
Yeah.
And he got paid millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Worked for 2 weeks. And
that's crazy.
I think that ChatGPT is going to make it so that we don't even need them that long. We're going to go, give me a Tom Cruise movie that looks like it was shot in the 90s and is a better version of Vanilla Sky. Something like that.
All right.
They're going to make it.
I actually have something that I want to trail off on that, and this is super unprofessional. My mother and my stepfather just called me back to back, though.
Oh, it's okay.
I just got to real quick make sure everything's all right.
Totally cool. Go for it.
I don't know if you want to cut this out.
We'll take a short break. Tiny intermission.
Anything you want to do while we're taking a break?
Nothing to know of.
I have to pee.
I actually do have to pee.
Dude, what am I, your dad?
Maybe.
Hey, buddy. Do you need a pee? You should probably pee before we come back.
It's fair.
Yeah, I just need to call them to make sure everything's all right because she's supposed to be moving into her new place tomorrow.
Oh, I got you.
Both of them just called me back to back.
Yeah, no, definitely take that. We should probably come back and wrap it up soon anyway. Hello, later me. It's nice to see you. You got through a difficult PLA day today. You should be proud of yourself. Everything okay?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. That was pointless.
Fair enough. Well, parents do be like that sometimes.
Then it was So my mom's moving into a new place tomorrow. I was supposed to go up there at 7:30 and help Jimmy move all of her old stuff out into her new place. And I guess he sent me a text and a phone call saying that he already got help and already moved it out, even though I was supposed to be there at 7:30. Oh. So then she's trying to call me and figure out what the hell's going on. Okay. Well, no. She had no idea. She can't get a hold of him.
Oh.
Yeah, Justin, my little brother, just happened to say that. Anyway.
Hilarious. Okay.
We'll cut all that out. I know we don't edit videos, but we'll cut all that out.
It's okay.
So, your point about the 90s movies.
Well, I really what I'm saying is that I feel like Chat GPT is just going to be able to create its own films after a while. Fuck the music industry.
100%. Well, I think it's going to be able to create everything. I mean, if we develop artificial intelligence to the degree that we want to be able, or certain people want to be able to, I think it's going to practically be able to do everything on its own.
Yeah, but it still has an on-off switch.
At a certain point, but eventually AI will get away from us. But aside from that, just to go into the 90s realm, because that made me think of another thing.
Okay. Yeah.
I was listening to somebody the other day about how, and I'm curious what your opinion on this is, because I'm sure it's relatively similar to mine.
Yes.
Being fans of cinema and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've kind of asked you. I asked you and Caitlin kind of both the same question 2 weeks in a row. Is like, when's the last time a good hard hitting movie was? And I was watching this guy on. It was like a recommended video after the GPT video, and it was how cinema nowadays is leaning a lot more towards CGI. Yeah. And how it's kind of ruining the cinema experience to a degree, because now it's very short-lived fulfilling. You know what I mean? Like, nothing against Marvel movies and nothing, but that's the best example of.
I have everything against.
Well, and I do to a degree. Like good for you for being, and I'm glad that people are being discovered based off of them. Like Tom Holland. I think Tom Holland is a great talent, and
seems like a wonderfully genuine person.
Great talent. Yeah. But I do kind of have an issue with the Marvel movement, and it's because it's almost like a quick hit. It's like
such a great way of saying
it's a quick hit. I mean, it's just exactly. It's like a very short-lived, fulfilling thing.
Yeah.
It's all big budget. We're no longer getting the small budget story driven movies.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, and I didn't even realize it, but I think that's the question I was asking y'all is like, when's the last time we had, and this isn't the question now, but it just relates. It's like, when's the last time we had a story driven movie that didn't rely on anything other than a small budget, good talent, and a great script?
Yeah.
Because to me, that is what I want to spend 2 hours watching. I don't give a fuck. And I think that's my gripe with the Mission Impossible movies. And I know you defend them, and I think it's a little bit nostalgia for you.
That's true.
And so you like give them a pass for how many they're making.
They're also just well written comparatively.
Compared to Marvel, yes.
Right.
Compared to Marvel, yes.
So I'll support them 100% over Marvel any day. But I know they're a popcorn flick.
Which isn't always bad, but I'm just tired of it being the only thing.
Me too.
And then the caveat of that, the other side is the movies that do have potential are getting sold to streaming services.
Yes.
And so it doesn't put any fire towards getting back to good cinema because they're all being sold to they're all being sold to streaming services,
and it devalues the quality of those movies.
It does. And streaming services, I got a little bit of an issue with that too. I'm guilty of it. I'm on streaming services. Me too. Who the fuck isn't, dude? It's 2023. Everybody's on it. But
literally everybody.
It's kind of the same concept of TikTok, how TikTok rots people's brains because it's always one thing after the next. And you can just swipe to the next entertainment. It's just
very quick service.
It's very quick service. And that's what streaming services are being turned into. And it's like, hey, we've got to pump out more. Mm-hmm. We've got to put more movies out, more TV shows out. And then you take these great ideas, but you rush them and you put them out too quick. Yeah. And then you end up with this catalog of shit.
Yes. It is a catalog of shit.
It's so depressing.
Well, so let me answer this.
I'm sorry. I know that was a lot.
No, it's okay.
I'm a little bit of a rant.
I'll answer my side of how I feel about that in two ways. First way, streaming services in general, I think, are sort of the last stand of independent filmmaking. Mostly because if you have enough money, you can make your own movie and still get it on streaming services. So if you have the drive to really go out there and advocate for yourself, you can make it happen. But you're never going to reach mainstream success still doing it that way. And here's why. Matt Damon, the other day, had an interview come out. I don't remember if it was written or if it was on a show or whatnot, but Matt Damon was asked the question, like, why do you think that movies are so bad nowadays? Because it seems to be almost unanimous that everyone agrees movies are not as good as they used to be. And when we say not as good as they used to be, we're talking about the golden age of American cinema, which is the 90s. I'm just scared
it's older people saying that, man. Do I fall in that? Do we fall in that group now
well,
where it's like older people thinking that?
So here...
Because I feel like the TikTok stars are cool with all this shit. You know what I mean?
And I understand...
to group them into an age range.
And I get what you mean 100%. What I'm saying is that, or what Matt Damon said, was that it's not that it's not okay. It's that it hasn't found its footing yet. And here's why. He says, and I agree with him 100%, I think he articulated it better than how I did a couple episodes ago when you asked this question. And I would kind of like to regurgitate his answer because I think that it's really the truth of the matter, which is that we don't have...
Man, knowledge is just memorization, so let's hear it.
Fair enough. We don't have VHS or DVD anymore. When we had VHS and DVD, you could put out a Reservoir Dogs because eventually the studio system would make money back on it. Problem is, the studio system doesn't make any money nowadays unless it's a Marvel movie because people will still go to the theater to see it. So the studio system won't take any risk to make art house, independent, interesting films because they know that at the most they're going to get a little bit of chump change from the streaming services, not from people going to see experimental, interesting films in a theater setting, which from a studio who's hiring people, paying insurance, blowing $10 million per film.
They have a job to do.
They're not going to take the risk anymore. They won't do it. They will only put out something that they know is going to be a blockbuster. And the problem is that the foreign market is overtaking American cinema because they're interested in taking risks that we're not interested in taking right now. And because we don't have a way for midnight movies or cult films to find any success anymore, because what you'd have to do is find them on Freevee, watch it for free 100,000 times and sit through all the ads for that company to make any money off of the damn project. So really you have two things right now. You have movies that are popcorn flicks, 100% in and out. They will be the mass-produced CGI, same script, every movie, but with a different skin put on it. And then you have independent cinema that people are self-financing. And that self-financed independent cinema is really the interesting stuff right now. But you can only get it from going to their own independent websites or something like that. They have their own independent ways to distribute the movie, and that's fine. But you're still going to pay $10,000 to release a feature or more, you know? And not a lot of people have that money to throw around unless they're like a doctor that's really interested in making a movie. So you don't get what you're talking about. There's no market for it right now, other than for people like you and me who want to self-produce media exactly like what you and me are talking about. And we probably have a group of people that would find that movie interesting and appealing and make it into a cult status. However, that audience has to be in place before you make the movie to make any money on the other side, unless you have a stellar marketing campaign. So it's really one of those things where it's like chicken or the egg. You're getting backed into a corner with nowhere to fight. Eventually, you just have to kind of be fucked by the system. And that's kind of where we're at right now, is the steady decline and death of the studio system that's ran since the 1920s. And really Hollywood right now is just starting to fail and tip over the iceberg. And it's going to self-implode from criticism like this, which is Hollywood's not making interesting movies anymore, so let's go look at people in Austin, Texas, who really produce their own independent media.
That's interesting. So you think maybe Hollywood won't always be... Because right now, and has been...
Yes.
Since the dawn of the entertainment industry, essentially.
Yes.
Since
the 1910s.
Between New York and LA, but mostly LA. That's been the staple. That is
the
where
standard. Yeah.
That's where stars are born.
Right.
That is it.
Yes.
Do you think that's eventually going to change, or do you think we're in
I
the
think
nostalgia
it's like
era?
4 or 5 years from changing.
Really?
Oh,
because a part of me fears that I only feel this way based on movies that I grew up watching, and based on movies that were shared with me. And I'm like, well, maybe I am becoming, because I'm 27 now, like maybe I'm becoming that old fuck that's like, well, you didn't make them like they used to when I was coming up.
No, because that wouldn't have been invalid criticism in the 90s. That's how you know. Because in the 90s, if you said a movie was good in the 60s, it's still good. Nowadays, you say this movie was good 10 years ago, and people go, yeah, but I like this shit.
It's outdated now.
Stupid. That's the problem.
True, because even early 2000s will even push it all the way up to about probably 2010.
Mm-hmm.
All those movies were still held in very high regard,
I think,
up until we were overcome with sophisticated CGI.
Yes. I think Interstellar or Inception...
Great movies.
That time period really was the last stand of Hollywood having
Interstellar
any
was
footholds.
what, 2016?
I think so.
Yeah.
2015, 2016.
Yeah.
And I remember leaving the theater and going, this is the best sci-fi movie made in the past 10 years. And I think...
I would say maybe even the past 20.
I would agree with that.
Sci-fi? I would say, I would, easily. Between that and Inception, both of them great.
Right. And with that being said, like... I can't think of a thing that stacks up. Even Tenet, Christopher Nolan's feature after Interstellar. I don't think any of it stacks up to...
Isn't he working on a new film right now?
Yeah. There's a lot of people actually coming out with some really interesting stuff soon. Ari Aster is releasing a new movie, which I love Ari Aster.
God, I hope some of them come out swinging.
Well, so this is the thing, though. You can have faith in production companies like A24.
I do agree with that. But
that's what I'm saying is those are few and far between, and it's mostly towards a foreign market when it comes to filmmaking.
I don't even remember when I started seeing their name pop up on movies.
Oh, I do. It was Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson, like 2000, right around 2010. That's when they started making stuff. Actually, The Lobster and like one or two others came out before that, and The Lobster was really great.
They do produce great movies, though.
Well, and it's not even that every single one is great. It's that they're willing to take a chance.
Yeah, they're willing to take that chance, man. Because, that's honestly what
and they're out loud and proud saying, I'm going to take the chance, which is wonderful because we don't have anywhere else in filmmaking that's doing
fucking
that.
Universal Pictures isn't going to put out something that takes a chance.
Even independent shit in New York, like the place where art house cinema for America was born in the 1960s and 50s with Andy Warhol starting to make films and stuff like that, with Citizen Kane and... basically all of that stuff, which, let's be honest, are just mimics and clones of sort of like 1930s and 40s Italian movies and Russian expressionism and German expressionism. That all sort of funnels down the pipe.
That's a little too artistic for me. Listen, I like a good artsy movie. Yeah. I don't know about that.
Well, okay, but that's the thing, though. When you go and listen to the influences of the people who made movies recently enough that you and me enjoyed them, the only things that they cared about were, like, in Quentin Tarantino's world, it was Akira Kurosawa and Sergio Leone spaghetti western films. It's just true. in the world of someone like Lars von Trier, it was probably things like, oh gosh, he's such a weirdo. Is probably things like Sweet Movie or like old school Fellini and Bergman and Godard films, French New Wave, Italian New Wave. That sort of like 1940s, 50s, 60s spirit of liberated sex and interesting new developments in storyline and non sequiturs and things like that.
What for the audience who might not know, what is spaghetti western?
An Italian-made western.
Ah,
yeah.
I knew that, obviously.
They were really popular in the 60s and 70s because Italian filmmakers realized that there was a lot of desert in Italy, and you could fake an American Western movie in Italy.
We should make a short film called Spaghetti Western.
Oh, I would love that.
I've never heard of that in my entire fucking life.
Really?
Yeah, I've never heard that before.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah,
when
I was the audience, buddy. It's just for me.
Well, when I was a child...
I thought Orlando Bloom out in Prince, man. You think I fucking know what a spaghetti western is?
Fair enough. When I was a child, I learned what a spaghetti western was because me and my dad would sit and watch marathons of John Wayne movies.
Yeah.
And he always would talk about spaghetti westerns, and I'd go, "What's a spaghetti western?" And he'd go, "Well, it's things like Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. They were like 1960s and 70s cheaply made western movies that don't really follow any plot. They're just sort of like nonsensical, charismatic, gun-toting western films."
Oh yeah, gunslinging films, baby.
They're like parodies of John Wayne movies. And John Wayne, you know, Angel and the Bad Man, Rio Grande, Stagecoach, even, you know, back to like really old school stuff with John Ford, like Young Mr. Lincoln and things like that. My dad showed me super early on things that like people that were my peers in film school hadn't even heard of, and he would basically just talk about the disingenuousness of the spaghetti westerns because they didn't have cult heroes like John Wayne or like Trigger the Horse or Yakima Canutt, who was like a really famous stunt double throughout the whole western movement in American cinema. All of that stuff was just sort of replaced with like the Marvel movie stereotype of what a western gun-toting kind of badass should be like, and it made them very shallow but very fun to watch movies. So I really think that's, if we're talking about where the Marvel movies are going to have their place in history, I don't think they're going to overtake cinema. I think they're going to become the new spaghetti western. I think they're kind of going to be like mocked throughout time.
That you know what, that actually, you tied that in so well. That was great, man.
This is why I'm a film person. It's why I make movies for my life and my passion.
This is why I need you sitting across from me, because you have so much insight to shit like that and a lot of knowledge when it comes to stuff like that, man. I respect that a lot because
I've devoted my life to cinema. Since I was born,
I've devoted my life to watching it. You've devoted your life to studying.
Yes.
And wanting to know the ins and outs and why things work the way they work, and not even just things as far as like the technical side, which again, thank God I got you, because I don't know a fucking thing about the technical side.
For me, the interest is the socio-political stuff. It's what change was enacted in the environment because of the film, because that's really the stuff. If you talk about a good movie, it's like what you said earlier. Marriage Story hit you on an emotional level. The 400...
Never been through a divorce, but I felt like I fucking went through one.
This is what I'm saying. The 400 Blows by Truffaut, which was about, you know, like this child who was bullied heavily and turned into like a young gang member and then kind of got his life together, but had a lot of adversity and like coming up in the French streets during World War II. Like, it's stuff like that where you sit back and you go, look, this isn't about me. This isn't about the current time period. It's about humanity. It's about these guerrilla tendencies that we have in ourselves that say, this is why you love your neighbor. It's not because they do good shit for you. It's because regardless of what skin color you are, what walk of life you're in, you and me are built of the same shit, and I have to protect you because that's what's right. And it's
very Gran Torino.
Yeah, exactly. But it's things like that that make a good movie. Because let's be honest,
that's a good fucking movie.
We don't need to see another alien get blown up. It's hypothetical bullshit. Nothing in a sci-fi movie, nothing in a grandiose thriller, nothing in a
unless it's done artistically like Interstellar, but outside of that,
even still though,
there's only one Interstellar though.
What made that movie so good? It's not about any of that stuff. It's not about the sci-fi. It's about his connection to his daughter and his family on Earth.
Emotion, man. When he's on the other side of the bookcase.
Oh my gosh!
He's pleading for his fucking life.
I
could cry right now, dude.
That's what I'm saying, though. It all has to do with integrity. It has to do with yourself being able to suspend disbelief and saying, I know what that person feels. And if you're a good filmmaker, that's what you do, and nothing else. Because that's what makes good cinema.
Man, I think that's why I love the entertainment industry so much, is because genuinely, really, the only time I can cry is from a movie or from music. That's it. And I don't know what that says about me. I don't know if that means I need to see a therapist, but that's really it.
So to glorify my father a little bit more even, when I was very young, I had some anger issues. And he showed me...
Fucking bet.
Right? He showed me a clip, which was an interview with Bruce Lee. And he talked all about emotional content. Emotional content was my phrase until I was probably about 15 years old. Because it took me that long to understand what he meant, which was that it doesn't matter what happens to you. It doesn't matter what you do to other people. The point is, if you are able to be self-assured and reliant on your own moral and ethical standard, you can't waver. You're strong regardless of what anyone else wants to do to you. And when you have that, you don't need to blow up on people. You don't need to push around your weight. You don't need to act like you got the biggest dick in the room. Because the point isn't any of that. The point is that you are self-assured in the fact that you are able to manage whatever comes your way.
Confidence is key.
Right. But legitimate confidence. Right. Actual confidence.
Not that fake
bravado.
Yeah.
So
that's called cocky.
Yeah.
There's a difference between cocky or
100%.
There you go. Better one. There's a difference between conceited and confidence.
Yes, conceited is a better word probably.
Yeah.
But that was my foundation. It was just my dad showing me the philosophy of Bruce Lee and me trying to interpret that in my own way. And I really think that that's guided my life in a strong sense. That mixed with my religion, I've found a contentment in not caring. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
There's a beauty in that.
I think so.
Yeah.
And it's not an ignorance is bliss thing. It's a choosing to not react.
Well, because at the end of the day, man, you reacting to somebody else, very rarely does it affect them the same way it affects you. So, I mean, you reacting to somebody else, you're hurting yourself. There's an old story about a snake slithering through a garage. And I swear to God, it comes in contact with a handsaw.
Okay.
And when he slithers past a handsaw, the teeth scratch its side. And so he thinks that the saw's attacking him. And so the snake coils around the saw.
Yeah.
Because it thinks he needs to defend itself.
Right.
So he coils around the saw. But the tighter he squeezes, the more in pain he is.
Right.
The more you focus on the things that you can't affect, you're just hurting yourself.
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, you're just hurting yourself.
It's very true. And to that point, and to the point I was making about Bruce Lee, I really think that that's sort of the state of cinema right now, is that it's a lot of people going, I'm too scared to coil myself around the saw. And I think good art only comes from that. Not just self-mutilation.
Well,
but
you got to be willing to at least,
from a deep emotional center. It has to stem from emotional value before it can ever make a difference in someone else's life. And really, that's what art is supposed to do. I know we talked a few weeks ago about the definition of art, and I said that I believed that art needed an audience to be considered art. I would go further to say that if that audience isn't affected by the art, then that's an even clearer distinction on what art is and isn't. And I think that is really displayed well in an Orson Welles film called F for Fake. It's a fake documentary about a painter who in the 1960s and 70s made a fortune off of selling faked Picasso paintings because he could paint them identically down to the brushstroke of what Picasso did. And the Orson Welles film is entirely about deception. it uses the framework of telling the true life story of this fraudulent painter, but it tells the story not about that story, but about the idea of fakery and genuineness as a concept. So the movie goes the entire runtime of the film, which I think is about 94 minutes. And spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. The last 15 minutes of the movie are entirely fake. So what he does is at the beginning of the movie, he does a bunch of magic tricks because Orson Welles famously was a very good magician. And literally says, like, I'm going to set up this movie with a bunch of tricks and fakery. And I'm not going to lie to you for 90 minutes. Okay? So I guess it was actually 90 minutes plus 15 minutes. So.
Yeah, the second the 90 minutes hit, he was like, now I can lie.
Second the 90 minutes hit, the rest of the movie is a lie. The entire remaining 15 minutes of the film, and it is the last 15 minutes.
Was that the intro to it?
Total lie.
Was I'm not going to lie to you for 90 minutes?
Yes.
I love when movies do that.
It's in the beginning of the film. He literally states that outright. But you get so engrossed by the story by the end of it when he starts peeling back the curtains and the music comes out and you're like, oh, he's been lying to me for 15 minutes and I had no idea. I totally forgot about what he said at the beginning. But it's a great commentary on not only cinema but art as a whole because he's able to touch you with a lie and you believe it. And you thank him for it at the end of it.
You know what is such a shitty comparison to that?
What?
But makes me think of it? Just from the intro versus the ending.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen 500 Days of Summer?
Oh, yes, of course.
Easily.
Millions of times.
Easily one of my favorite.
God, I love that movie.
What would you call that? A romance movie? A drama?
No.
It's not a rom-com. I mean, it's funny, but it's not a rom-com. It's very...
It falls into whatever category Memento does.
I was going to say it falls into whatever Eternal Sunshine falls into.
Yeah, I think they're all in the same
Very
thing.
close. They're all very close.
It's artistic, art house cinema is what you would call it. But I think in a more realistic definition, you would call it like American New
And
Wave.
I would say out of those three, 500 Days of Summer is probably the most easily digested by the masses.
Yes.
First off, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Come
Just
on.
a great
Dreamboat.
talent.
Great talent.
Yeah.
So good at what he does.
Yeah.
Zoe Deschanel.
Which is just the
Love
ultimate
her.
pixie manic dream girl.
Well, and honestly, they complement each other so well.
They do, because he kind of is the male equivalent of that.
A little bit, and I don't think a lot of people realize it, but a little bit. And I think that's why even after the movie was made, they had such good chemistry. I don't know if you know, but they went on several shows together.
Oh, yeah.
They sang together. They
Yeah.
performed together on stage.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, because Joseph Gordon-Levitt did the whole, like, he did, like, a whole live thing on his website that was, like,
yeah.
he would do, like, theater tours.
Yep.
Where he would do almost, like, stand-up, but it's,
Yep.
like, drama with different skits and stuff like that. And some comedy mixed in. I can't
very
remember what the
artistic
name
guy,
of it
man.
was. But, yeah.
But
Very
in the
artistic
very
guy.
beginning,
He's like a not weird Vincent Gallo.
in the very beginning of 500 Days of Summer, it says, this is not a love story.
Right.
It tells you straight up.
Yeah.
This is not a story about love.
Yes.
And then for the rest of the movie, you're convinced this has got to be a love story.
Right.
It's got all of the bones.
But then it just breaks down so beautifully.
Man. Yeah, it does.
Well, and so here's the thing. I think this is really
Easily one of my favorite movies.
Agreed. I think the antithesis of what we're talking about is that we want to be lied to, but we don't want to know that we're being lied to.
I just want to feel something.
But here's the thing. Marvel movies, you know before you go to the movie, they're lying to you. You don't have any chance of suspending disbelief enough to be emotionally attached to these people.
The only thing
more than the idea of, I read these comics when I was a kid.
The only thing,
it's nostalgia capitalization.
The only thing that ever fucked me up during a Marvel movie, which if this is a spoiler alert,
oh, who cares?
You suck. The only thing that ever fucked me up was the Tony Stark scene.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
And
I mean,
enough.
yeah. I mean, during, what is that, Infinity War?
Yeah.
And,
Part 2.
he does a thing. And I'm not going to lie to you, dude. I knew it was coming because I watched it like 3 weeks late.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming, and it still, when it happened, I was like, I felt it in my
Yeah.
heart. I was like, damn, they
But
did something with that.
It's
But that's not often.
because the writing was so good. It's because there was a social.
I felt bad for Tom Holland.
Fair enough. It's just because people loved the charisma of Robert
The most
Downey
artistic
Jr.
thing they did was not tell Tom Holland that he was going to a funeral. They told him he was going to a wedding to
Yeah.
get a real reaction out of him.
Yeah.
That was the most artistic thing they did, was say, Tom Holland, this is a wedding scene, and then he gets there and it's a fucking eulogy for Tony Stark. That's probably the best thing they did.
Yeah, but by that definition of like best, I should be making millions by this point. Every film that has ever had a gunshot that I've been a part of, I say to the actor, go over there. You're going to come over here. You can get shot. You can fall to the ground. What they don't know is I have a pocket full of fireworks poppers. And as soon as the gun goes off, I throw that shit on the floor and they jump out of their skin. And it's the most realistic reaction you can get. But like, seriously, that's tricks of the trade. That's JV shit. That's like stuff a high schooler should be doing, not a Marvel studio. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Cinema is an art. It has theory. It has structure. It has a relationship to its audience. What we're doing now is we're saying, I know all those things exist. I'm going to capitalize on the high points of those things and forget everything else.
With that, I think that's a good thing to end on.
I do too.
I think that was a perfect closer.
Thank you.
So with that, this has been Just After Midnight.
After
Midnight.